It's that time of week, folks. A challenge of Christ. I mean, really. uh, I'm getting bored with this myself, but I mean, my word. It's he says in this video, well, we're going on 3 years now. No, you're going on 6 years, Don, of this challenge of Christ. But he says something in this video later on that he talks about how's the best way of learning or something like that. And he says by repetition, repetition. Folks, he knows what he's doing. And it works on some people, but it don't work on a lot of us. You know, we're grounded in the faith. Most of us are grounded in the faith. Uh, as Paul said, remain steadfast, firm, immovable. You know, with Don, it's like he's an unstoppable object meeting an immovable object. But this is so ridiculous. I find it hard to believe. You know, it's like, are we living in a twilight zone or what? The older I get, the ornery I get, though, I guess. And I just, I don't know. I took down the website. I had fun with it for a while, but you know, it's too serious to be playing with, and so I just took it down. Besides, it was costing money, something that Preston don't know anything about. If it's going to cost him money, he's not going to do it. But anyway, folks, we're going to go back over this. How Don misquotes John 10:37. He's afraid of John 10:37. He's afraid of his followers reading the book of John, or even from chapter 8 to chapter 10. He don't want you to do that because you will see he's misquoting Jesus, taking him out of context at the same time. That's really bad when you have to misquote the various translations. You have to misquote them in order for you to build a false doctrine around it. But that's what Don has done. There is no such thing as the challenge of Christ. There's a challenge of Don K. Preston, but there is no challenge of Christ the way he has built this around John 10:37. You know, it's his followers they're not going to use their Bibles. They're not going to open up their Bibles and check to see if what he's saying is true. A lot of these people love to say, we're like the Bereans. You're as far away from the Bereans as anyone could get because you have allowed Don K. Preston to misquote Jesus from John 10:37, one verse. You people, you followers of his, have allowed him to do this for going on 6 years now. And the last video I did on this, I showed you where Don admits he was doing this 19 years ago. But then he goes right back saying, I've been doing this almost 3 years. Well, I don't know what he's talking about because I've been rebutting him over 3 years. But what does the truth matter when, good grief, if you can say Jesus said this when you know for a fact he didn't, it's been pointed out to you, you've had the scriptures shoved in your face and you still ignore it. So all of you that's going along with Don Preston and following him blindly like a bunch of stupid sheep, you're getting what's coming to you. You just are. It's coming to you one day. Well, let's hear what the master has to say.
What it would mean is that even more and more and more people are coming to understand, or at least to be intrigued by, to be interested in the story of God's faithfulness to keep his word. More and more people coming to understand the challenge of Christ. My channel here on Now TV has been focused for over 3 years now.
No, going on 6.
on answering the challenge of Christ. What is that? Well, if you're new, you may not realize that.
Pay attention, folks, because he takes Jesus way out of context, misrepresents Jesus, just fabricates this challenge. But you have to pay attention to what the Word says and what Don K. Preston says.
The challenge of Christ is very, very simple, very profound, very important. Jesus said, John chapter 10 verse 37, if I do not do the works that my Father has given me, do not believe me.
Okay, so let's just leave it right there. He misquotes him to begin with. If I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. Jesus was doing the works of the Father. It was kind of rhetorical. The if is a very important part, but Jesus did not stop there. The sentence does not stop there. Don stops with that great pause every time. Do not believe me, and wags his finger at you. You know, you people that are brainwashed and, y'all don't pay no attention to it. But those of us who are in the steadfast in the word, we're not fooled by these little tricks and Jim Jones style rabble rousing little cliche talks. There's a difference between the works of my Father and the works my Father has given me to do. As I've pointed out, folks, over and over and over again on his videos, John 17:4. Jesus says himself, he has finished the work Don K. Preston claims Jesus is talking about. John 17:4, read it. It says, let me, I'll go ahead on this split screen. But see, here's what I got pulled up already. John 10:37. If I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. But if I do. See, this is all rhetorical because Jesus, they were wanting to stone him for doing the works of the Father already. But if I do, though you do not believe me, believe the works, that you may know and believe that the Father is in me and I in him. When we do the works of the Father, the world can see. We're supposed to be shining our lights and all that. The world is supposed to be able to see the works of the Father in us. They are to know that the Father is in us and we are in the Father. That's the example Jesus gave us. The miracles and the signs and all is what Jesus did to prove his deity. But John 17:4, let me go to it. It's not like I hadn't read this, but see, where he has several hundred views, I'll get 6 or 7. But at the same time, I know other people have got this. I've had one lady to tell me, don't stop doing this. I don't care if it's just one. Don K. Preston, one of these days, it's going to catch up to him. Now, you can't just keep repeating a lie over and over and over and get away with it. Jim Jones didn't. It killed him. But they practiced drinking Kool-Aid every morning and listening to him rattle around, like Don's morning musings. They listened to Jim Jones every morning preach, and then finally one day the Kool-Aid they were drinking was poison. Let's go to John 17:4 right quick. Let me prove my point. See, Don says, if I do, wags his finger, remember, if I do not do what the Father has given me to do not believe me. Well, guess what, Don? He finished that. He says, he's talking to the Father. I have glorified you on the earth. I have finished the work which you have given me to do. He finished it. So, but I asked Don a couple of years ago, what does that mean? What does that mean, Don? He never answered. Then he come back and said, I've already answered that. I'm not going to answer it again. He lied, folks. He never answered it. I mean, Jesus came. God sent the Son that through him we could have forgiveness of sins and have salvation. Jesus is showing his apostles, his disciples, here's follow me. Take up your cross, follow me. If you want to be my disciple, follow me. He showed them how to do the works of the Father. besides the fact that he gave them gifts of miracles, laying on of hands and all of that, to prove he was the Son of God. Those are two different things. Believing he's the Son of God and looking at the proof that he's the Son of God is two different things. A lot of Jews around him, a lot of people, some of them in the temple knew he was the Son of God, but they feared the Sanhedrin, they feared the Jews, that they would be kicked out of the temple. They even believed. Some didn't believe even after seeing the miracles that proved he was Jesus. But the works of the Father is what Jesus showed us how to do. He is our example. It's not saying we can live a perfect life like he did. It's saying, here's Jesus showed us how to do. He he was our example. And with Don, it's which he gets on it here in just a little bit. It's not what Jesus did to prove his deity. John, remember what John chapter 20, verse 30 says. These things were done so that you would believe. Let me go to it right quick. There was Thomas who doubted, but then he saw the wounds in Jesus. Thomas in 20 verse 28, when Thomas finally he put his fingers in his wounds and all that, Thomas said, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Thomas, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have believed." That's us, folks. We have not seen. We did not stick our hands in his side or fingers in his palms, but yet we believe. And truly, Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written that you may believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing you may have life in his name. Remember, Jesus said, "Heaven and earth pass away, but my word will by no means pass away." We have the word. We have his word. Don has his my atheist buddies and my scholars and my archaeology and all this. That's what Don has. He has to have proof, and yet he doesn't believe Jesus on words enough that he twists them and makes up what Jesus said in John 10:37. That's the lack of faith Don K. Preston actually has. Don's in it for the money or something, because he doesn't even believe what Jesus said. If he did, he wouldn't twist it or change it. Does that not make sense, folks? That if you believe Jesus, the last thing you would want to do is change his words to mean something he didn't say. Now, make that make sense. What Don has done, make that make sense to me. It doesn't. If he believed Jesus, he wouldn't dare. He wouldn't dare misquote him and misrepresent him and all that, just so you would believe something I was saying about some goofy 70 AD doctrine. But listen to Donald Pugh. He's got a good one this time. It's just all over the place. But I'm not going to go over all of it. But I want to kind of, and I may do another follow-up video to do the rest of this garbage he's got through this video. Folks, he spews garbage. That's all I can say about it. It's garbage. But listen to a little bit.
So if Jesus didn't do what he said he was going to do,
see, he didn't say nothing about do what I say I'm going to do. Jesus didn't talk about that. And Don's fixing to talk about, he said he would come back in judgment and resurrection and all that in first century. Jesus didn't say that either.
we're not supposed to believe in him.
Yeah, his stupid commercials.
Shock CryoGlow, the new Med-Spa inspired mask with under-eye cooling. IQ LED technology.
One of important. Jesus said, John chapter 10.
I want to replay that. It was a commercial break and all that. I'm going to edit it out. But see, he's talking about what Jesus is going to do in the future. And they're not to believe him because of something he's going to do when they're going to be dead.
10 verse 37. If I do not do the works that my Father has given me, do not believe me.
Okay, leave it there and pause, Don. Whatever you do, don't just keep reading that sentence. The sentence doesn't even stop there, and Don breaks it. But see, like as I pointed out, the works my Father has given me, Jesus finished them. He said he did when he was praying to the Father. I have finished the work which you have given me to do. I pointed out another time, he gave all of them the gospel. You go out, Matthew 28:18, he commanded them to go out and make disciples of all the nations, baptize them, make disciples of all nations, and baptize them in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He gave Paul specific instructions. You go to the Gentiles. Peter goes to the Jews. He gave them specific things to do, all of which are works of the Father. Paul wasn't commanded, don't go to a Jew. He was saying, the Gentiles are your priority. That was specific works. When Paul was ready to be handed up, he said, I have finished the work. I have kept the faith. Paul knew he had completed what he was supposed to do. I have finished the work which you have given me to do. God spoke to them personally and gave them specific works. Jesus had specific works. Come and save the world. And yet Don here, if I do not do what I say I'm going to do in 40 years when most of y'all are dead, it's ridiculous, Don. It's just stupidity is what it is. But he's going to, I wanted to replay that because there was a commercial come on. But he's going to brag again about the atheists that he agrees with. And, I debated world scholar Richard Carrier and Smith. I don't think he names them this time, but he usually brags every video now. Every video he brags about debating an atheist, Richard Carrier. I don't know why he thinks Richard Carrier is a rock star. He's not, but I have nothing against that guy. He seemed like a smart guy, but we can't convince everybody. We give them the word, they either reject it or don't, or accept it. It's up to them. We can't do nothing about it, but we don't have to be combative with them and despise them. We just, here's the gospel, accept it and believe it or not. They don't have to be our blood enemy. That's just the way it is. We don't have fellowship with them and all that, but I don't have nothing against Richard Carrier. He's made his choice, and one day he'll live with it.
So if Jesus didn't do what he said he was going to do, we're not supposed to believe in him.
And Don doesn't, folks. That's the point. If Jesus didn't, if all the resurrection, judgment, heaven and earth, the new creation, if that was not all fulfilled in the first century, then Don does not believe Jesus. But again, as I pointed out, he has to change Jesus' words to what he wants them to say. And Don is telling us, you change what the scripture says or don't believe in Jesus. And that's what he's saying. All of Christianity for 2,000 years has understood. Matthew 24:36 is telling everybody, no man knows when he will come. Don says, no man but me. Don says he knows when he came again and resurrected the dead and judged the world and all of that. Don says he knows. But God says no man knows. When it happens, it's going to be for everyone, righteous and unrighteous. It's not going to just be for a few in Israel.
One of, certainly not all.
Well, see, here it comes, and then I'm going to cut this video off, and I may pick it up again later and finish this video up, because he's got a wild ride in this video.
But one of the most important things that he said he was going to do was to come in glory, in the glory of the Father, with his angels, in judgment, in the first century.
Okay, well, the kingdom came in the first century. Don says, no, nobody saw him. Say, hey, this is what he does. They didn't see him in the first century when he came, according to Don now, in AD 70, when he come, nobody saw him. It was in the glory of the Father, Titus and his armies. And then we point out, no, the kingdom came on the day of Pentecost. And then Don will say, well, nobody saw him. He wants to have his cake and eat it too and throw it in your face. Don is so self-contradictory, he don't know where he's at. But you just heard Jesus in John 10:37 talking to a specific audience relevance, folks. Remember that. That's who Jesus was talking to. Those around him that wanted to kill him, he was telling them, if I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. He had told them, you do the works of your father, the devil. They were saying, no, we do the works of Abraham. Abraham is our father. Jesus said, no, he's not. This is all in chapter 8. He says, Jesus told him, no, you do the works of the devil. If you were doing the works of Abraham, you would believe me. And Don don't want you to read chapter 8. Do not. And 9 and 10 to put this in its proper context. And he doesn't want you to think about audience relevance for once. He don't want you to think about that because it would put it all in context properly. And Jesus, and it would prove to you, Jesus is not talking about judgment and the resurrection when he's talking to those Jews. If I do not do the works of my Father, do not believe me. He's not talking about the resurrection, his coming in judgment. That is going to come. That was all prophesied, but that ain't what Jesus was talking about there. Don knows it. That's why Don has to twist and misquote Jesus and take him out of context. And it's so maddening to me that nobody challenges him on it. Don't nobody care. His followers do not care. They just, oh, yeah, AD 70. Don wants you to, he brags about debating atheists because they all agree. If Jesus didn't come in AD 70, he lied and he's not the Son of God. That's Don trying to save his own unbelief. He's trying to wiggle out of his unbelief. He's trying to take a loophole or a shortcut or something. But I got news for him. There is no loopholes. There's no loopholes in this. Jesus wasn't talking about AD 70. He wasn't talking about the judgment, and he wasn't talking about resurrection in John 10:37-38. He wasn't. He was talking about what he was doing while he was here. He finished that. He said so in John 17:4. I don't know how clearer that could be, but I'm going to do another video on this one video, and